Veganuary vegan? Hi, do you guys, Coach here at ComplEat.com. This is the Veganuary podcast, episode 8 or 7, I don't know. I got lost track a little bit.
I think 8.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, in the last episode we were talking about plant-based meat or meat substitute. In the previous we were talking about lab-grown meat. And we were touching a little bit, you were said about the pandemic and COVID, so I want to go a little bit over that. After we were talking about the alternatives of meat production through the lab meat and the plant-based meat, and obviously we have this new pandemic, which is not 100% how did it start. Firstly, we thought it's coming from the Chinese market, where they keep different species of animals together in a closed environment, and one of the viruses jump into another animal which is similar to us, and then we get it from animals. There are some conspiracy theories that it's coming from a Chinese lab, but nonetheless it's always coming from an animal. So even if it's made in a lab and it's somehow escaped, it's been I don't know, they've been experimenting something with bats, I guess, or something like, I think it was like a bat DNA in it or something like that.
I think so, yeah. But even if the lab was, as you were saying, even if the lab was testing and playing with dangerous things, which usually, let's face it, they are in pharmaceutical, but it is 100% known and officially accepted at this moment that these type of viruses are what they call zoonotic viruses. So they are viruses that are present in animals, and they gain the ability of making this biological jump into a different species, and that is, very, very facilitated by the fact that you have a lot of animals joined together in markets, for example, different animals, and because of the meat production, you have constantly animals in contact with people.
Yeah. So some of the viruses, they shouldn't jump to humans. Like, I think the bird flu, like every flu we have, or every kind of these viruses, the bird flu, the swine flu, the cow disease, and now this from bats or whatever, there's always come from animals. It shouldn't,
more precisely, the interaction consistently between animals and humans.
It shouldn't jump to other species. And that's why it's really harmful for us, because obviously it's a virus we never dealt with, because it's only spreads on certain species of animals. But because they close together, one is jump something genetically closer to human DNA, and then we are susceptible more to catch those super viruses, or I don't know how to call it. We're very weak on these. Our immune system never seen this kind of viruses before. So always, each time we have this bigger pandemics, it's always coming from animals, what obviously shouldn't be this way. So the way how we treat animals and to keep animals in this closed environment, and obviously eating them, we're trying to fight this, farm animals are always stuffed with antibiotics, so they don't get sick and then we don't get any disease from there.
Which is also worse for us, because then we consume a lot of antibiotics, and then that provokes ultra-resistant bacteria as well.
So there's nothing healthy eating farmed animals, or in this huge industrial farming. It's never gonna be
one of those super bacteria. Yeah,
it's never gonna be.
They literally eat the antibiotic.
Yeah, it's never gonna be healthy, because obviously they're not grass-fed animals, so they have to eat crops, and then they have to inject vitamins and minerals to them to get healthy, and then we get, because they on themselves they're not eating grass, so they don't have anything to increase their vitamin and minerals intake, so you have to inject them with B12 and calcium, and then antibiotics so they don't get sick and we don't get anything from there. So there's a lot of things injecting them. It's already manipulated more so than a lab meat, probably. So if I had to choose, I'd rather eat a lab meat than something in a farmed animal.
Mainly industrial.
Industrial farming. And it's harder and it's gonna be always harder and harder to feed, like to find grass-fed cow, because there's just not enough land. We talked about this in the previous podcast. But this can be something, then, I don't know, I'm not far, I'm far beyond to be like a person who is competent to in this topic, but as far as I know, this plant-based diet, if it's become a global thing, so we switch to plant-based rather than eating animals, then it could be something eradicates this kind of disease. This kind of disease for sure. I don't know if it's gonna bring up a new disease, what we're receptive for, but these kind of animal flus, which is comes up every 3-5 years, is more and more consistent than before. Then this can be easily avoidable.
I mean, it has been something that has been present in the scientific community for years now, right? Since the last SARS, I've seen a huge amount of scientists, raising awareness for this. I'm not saying that they became. I don't know if they became plant-based or if they just. Maybe they became plant-based or at least reduced their meat consumption or tried to eat, I don't know, local farm, I don't know. But they were raising awareness for the fact that the way that we industrialize the animal raising for meat consumption is definitely gonna cause something like this again. So that's why many people were not surprised with COVID. Maybe it was a little bit more transmissive than the previous ones, but I mean, it's the same type of virus, even if it's stronger now, but it's like it comes from the same sort of SARS family, let's call it like that. So, people were not that much surprised. The general public was, because we were caught out of, I guess we are not that much aware of this type of things, but it's not something that we were not waiting for. So for me, it's very shocking that knowledge being, basically officially known was not enough to change things. And I'm not even talking about the small farmers. I mean, those are the last ones that we should criticize. I'm still not eating or buying their products, but those are like at the bottom of all of this hierarchy of people who should have changed, like between big corporations, governments, giving stimulus for companies to change their ways of production and so on. So yeah, there's something that I really want to ask, because I think between us both, you're the best to answer to this, but which is about the immunity in general, either against viruses or any other sort of disease. So we know that a plant-based diet boosts your immune system, right? I mean, if it's a healthy one.
Yeah, obviously. You cannot boost your immune system, so that's a misconception that anything can boost. So the immune system is so vast and so complicated just by changing one ingredient in the system or one gear in the system. It's not gonna, we don't know. Well, what we know, people who eating clean and healthy, which is plant-based, like 80%, they base their diet on fruits and vegetables and then maybe fish or lean meat, and they train regularly, so they move every day, they train rigorously like 3-4 times a week at least. And they're not obese, so they have a healthy body fat percentage. They usually tend to have a stronger immune system. Okay. So, and then we associate with clean eating, and training is very important as well, to train your cardiovascular system and your circulatory system by just bring up your heart rate. Basically, I'm not gonna go deep into it. Just bring up your heart rate, so something vigorous, or something intense exercise. those people tend to be healthier. So that's why it's always recommended to, it's not just from thin air. So training and healthy eating and low fat and low body fat percentage is always considered with a stronger immune system. So yes, just cleaning up your diet, losing weight, body fat, not necessarily weight, it's always going to boost your immune system, so your immune system is going to be stronger. But it's very complicated. But definitely eating a variety of foods. So the more the color, the better, because everything is bring up different vitamins and minerals in your system, and those has to be in balance. So something is missing, then your immune system is compromised.
So it has to do with what we were talking the other day. So if you just change if you're eating fries and steak and you change your steak for a Beyond Meat burger, that's not going to make you healthier. But if when I said a plant-based diet boosts your immune system, so I've worded it wrong, and that might give rise to misconceptions.
You were right. It's just a little more complicated than the. So, but you don't have to know everything about it as long as you're eating a lot of vegetables, which is different colors,
and be a bit active.
Then being active, then definitely going to boost your immune system. But it's really important to stay active and don't get obese. Don't have a precondition for COVID or any flu or anything disease like this, because these are all preconditions. And studies and the more data we have around COVID, like all eyes on COVID, so everyone is like 100% on this. Like we have a lot of data, and precondition is being old. And it's not just old, because a lot of people who old get COVID and they don't feel anything, or they get through this. But usually old, if they're very well. But usually what old means is not just age, but our cells are not generating anymore, not regenerating, and we are weak. Old people are weak. So that's what you want to avoid. You want to be always strong and low body fat percentage, because what happens when you get old, you're losing a lot of muscle mass, you're losing bone density, and these are preconditions. So you want to keep as strong bones as possible, as much muscle mass as possible with training and exercise. So just because you have an older age doesn't mean you have to stop training. It's more important to train more and more and more. You have to stay active and have to stay healthy. And then the lower the body fat, and even if the young people who like in the 20s and 30s, they suffer very hard from COVID, because they should be young and strong, but they young, weak, and overweight. And overweight is the worst condition which you can have with this. Always this. It's very hard. Your heart and lung is already compromised because of your overweight. You're carrying double your body weight, so your heart has to wear double for its size, for your body size. So these are all preconditions, and once you catch this kind of disease, you're gonna be much harder to recover from it. So you are in a vulnerable population. So you have to make sure that your body fat percentage in a healthy range. You active, you exercise, and don't have a precondition. Diabetes, obesity, they're all asthma. They're all preconditioned. What you can fight with just clean eating and exercise. It's not something, it's an autoimmune disease, so you cannot do anything about it. It's something, it's so easy to change. And still, most of the death is coming from bad dietary choices, because we are obese, we have diabetes, we are overweight, heart attack. They all coming from bad dietary choices and sedentary lifestyle.
That's why I was asking, because I've been seeing a lot of doctors saying that diet can save your life, and obviously they are dramatizing this to make people aware and to capture people's attention. But to a certain extent, it can. It's what they call preventive medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We shouldn't spend I think most money in healthcare goes by obesity related issues, products to improve and sell, and everything around keeping people fat and weak, and and just buying those insulin ampoules and then just keep people in this precondition of the edge of dying, but keeping them of alive so they can still buy their product or medicine or whatever you call it. It's not medicine. So you don't want to be in this category, definitely. And another thing, if you caught COVID and then you are recovering, one of my clients just sent me this article that a lot of doctors now reporting a lot of muscle mass loss. So while recovering, you lose a lot of muscle mass. It's very hard to recover if you're losing strength in your muscles. So by just recovering, you need to start exercising as soon as possible to bring up your muscle mass, because apparently it's one of the recovery problem that people lose a lot of muscle recovering from COVID. So you want to make sure you start training as soon as possible. Obviously start an easy intensity, but as soon as you can, get back to build up your muscle mass and your lung capacity and everything which you couldn't be able to do because of the virus. So make sure you don't have precondition, and once you get through the virus, then as soon as you can, go back to training and then try to reduce the recovery phases as short as possible.
Yeah. And bear in mind that we are the first ones that have to just put in the work and research a little bit and educate ourselves and change our habits, because it's really hard for things to change at a systematic level. Because, for example, as you were saying, the pharmaceutical industries, I'm not demonizing them, we do need them, but also they are such a big business that they have, this might sound very ugly, but to a certain extent, and again, I'm not saying they do it on purpose, but also they don't have much incentive to make people change their habits, because they can sell their products more the more sick people there are. So we do need them, and I'm not saying they are making people sick, but they surely do not have the motivation to try and help people to change their habits. So because the system we live in is based in capital profit, every sort of institution is going to behave in the way that brings them more capital profit rather than human profit, which is human health and well-being. So we are the ones that have to strive for that and do that for ourselves and for our community. It's not even for you only, it's for you, for your family, for your parents, grandparents that are more vulnerable at this time, children in the future that we don't know, the next virus might be more deadly for children than for older people, for example, which I'm not saying necessarily one thing is not worse or better than the other, but it might be even worse in terms of if it starts affecting children, then what's going to become of our world. So so anyway, I'll stop with the drama and negativity now, but just to make people aware that we are the ones that have to do this for ourselves and the people we care about, and generally for the whole humanity, and also for the animals if you care about them.
Yeah. So it's really important, probably more important than ever in this situation of pandemics and it's this pandemic. I want to just focus on this in this episode. So reduce the meat consumption, bring up your plants, fruits and vegetables, legumes, nuts. Try to be plant-based at least 80%, and then if you are transitioning, I don't know, reduce the red meat and then the white meat and then the fish. Definitely skip dairy, that's the worst, and eggs you can do. And then slowly build up your plant-based or the vegan portfolio of dishes and get into this cuisine and try learn how to cook and how how to eat plant-based in general. And this is not just going to be beneficial in terms of future diseases, avoiding this biological jumps from other species, but your health is gonna improve. And usually plant-based diet, this is the only diet which been proved to reverse obesity, reverse diabetes and reduce obesity. So there are studies now, numerous studies, which shows when people started, people with type 2 diabetes who developed diabetes because of bad eating, just by eating plant-based, they not just be able to reduce their symptoms, but they turned it back. So they don't have diabetes anymore. So if you have, give it a go, make sure you're doing it the right way. But these are avoidable diseases and avoidable preconditions. So reduce the meat consumption and reduce your body fat and your junk food consumption, and make sure you have a healthy body fat range. Make sure you train every day, don't lose muscle mass, keep your bones strong while lifting weight, and you're gonna have a healthy and strong life, and you can avoid 80% of the diseases. Obviously there are diseases, well, like mainly genetics, but even if you have a genetic factor, the best you can do is just the other, I don't know, if you have a genetic factor of 70% and 30% is environmental, then make the 30%.
As best as possible.
As best as possible. Don't reduce that with like bad eating and give more chance for the developing a genetic disease. So just try to be as conscious as possible and try to avoid this.
Yes. Before we finish, can I just say something that I personally think it's pretty cool, but sometimes I think boring stuff is cool, so I'm not sure what you guys are going to think. So I'll be very brief, but I think it's really cool that I think it's GlaxoSmithKline, this biotech from Canada, sweet Canada, is starting to develop now plant-based vaccines, which is going to be great for us vegan community and people who care for animal rights. I'm really excited, and they are actually developing a COVID plant-based vaccine. I'll be like, I would fly to Canada to take that one. I'm very excited about this.
It's gonna be available here, hopefully. All right, guys. Yeah, that was it. Hopefully it was insightful. And if you have any question, leave it in the comment section. You can find me on Instagram and other platforms, which is in the description. And train complete. Train complete. Eat and train.